I've read those files until the words blur, my coffee cold, my eyes raw. The prosecution painted her a monster. Chloroform to knock Caylee out. Tape to silence her forever. A body tossed to the woods like trash. The defense swore it was an accident. A drowning buried in panic. Casey's lies a reflex from a broken past. Neither side nailed it shut. No blood, no prints, just echoes of death and a mother who didn't weep. I'm dragging you back there with me, to the lies, the car, the bones, because something's alive in this mess. Casey's shadow may be cold and grinning, or Caylee's small and lost, begging for an answer. I'll find it, even if it's just a ghost in the trunk. June 2008. In Orlando was a pressure cooker. Humid air pressing down, cicadas screaming in the trees. Caylee Anthony was alive then, or so Casey said. A 2-year-old with wide eyes and a giggle that could melt you, last seen by her grandparents on June 16th. Then she was gone, swallowed by a silence her mother filled with stories. For 31 days, Casey danced through that summer like nothing was wrong, while something, or someone, rotted in the shadows. I've traced those days in the reports, piecing together the lies, and they don't just twist the truth, they choke it. It started small. Casey told Cindy and George that Caylee was with a nanny, Zenaida Fernandez-Gonzalez. Zanny, she called her, said she was working late at Universal Studios, that Zanny was watching the girl. Everything was fine. Cindy bought it at first, busy with her own life, but George had his doubts. He'd see Casey come home late, no Caylee in tow, her excuses thin as tissue paper. She's at a sleepover, she'd say one day. Zanny took her to Tampa, the next. I can picture him squinting at her, that ex-cop gut twitching, but he didn't push. Not yet. Meanwhile, Casey was at Fusion Ultra Lounge, grinding against strangers, laughing under strobe lights. Her daughter a ghost she wouldn't name. The lies grew bolder. She told her boyfriend, Tony Lazzaro, that Caylee was with the nanny too. No worries, just a night out. Friends saw her at parties, shot glasses clinking, her smile bright and empty. She'd text them about work meetings, a rich guy named Jeff Hopkins, a life that sounded too big for a single mom. But there was no job. Universal fired her years back. No Jeff, no nanny, just Casey, spinning a web so tight it caught everyone but her. I've read those texts, heard the 911 calls later, and I wonder, was she that good at lying? Or were they that desperate to believe? July 15th hit like a thunderclap. Cindy couldn't take it anymore. 31 days of dodging, no Caylee in sight. She tracked Casey down, found her at a friend's place, and demanded answers. Casey fed her more. Zanny had Caylee in a hotel, then a car accident, then some vague promise she'd bring her back. Cindy snapped, dialed 911 3 times that night. My granddaughter's been missing for a month, she sobbed into the phone, voice raw. I found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn thing. That smell. George smelled it too, weeks earlier, when he picked up gas cans Casey stole from his shed. He'd opened the trunk, gagged, shut it fast. Didn't ask, didn't tell. Why? I've listened to those calls on repeat, Cindy's panic clawing through the static. Casey's voice comes in later, cool as ice. Caylee's been with Zanny. She's fine. The operator presses, and Casey doubles down. Zanny kidnapped her. She's been too scared to talk. Lies on lies, piling up like dirt on a grave. By then, the car was impounded, abandoned June 30th in a Checkers lot, reeking so bad the tow guy called it in. Cops cracked it open. Empty, but that smell lingered, heavy, accusing. A trash bag inside didn't explain it. Something had died in there, and Caylee knew. Those 31 days haunt me. She didn't cry, didn't search, didn't flinch. Was she covering a murder, plotting each step? Chloroform, tape, a body stashed till she could dump it? Or was it panic, like her lawyer claimed later? A drowning, a snap decision to hide the truth. I see her in that club light, hips swaying, eyes blank, and I can't tell. Is she a monster playing human, or a broken girl who lost her way? The lies don't answer. They just pull me deeper, into a dark where Caylee's voice should be, but isn't. That white Pontiac Sunfire sits in my mind like a tombstone, its trunk a black hole swallowing every answer. By late June 2008, it was Caylee Anthony's shadow. Wherever she went, it followed, silent and heavy with secrets. When it rolled into that impound lot on June 30th, abandoned, keys gone, it wasn't just a car anymore. It was a crime scene. A vault of decay that screamed what Caylee wouldn't say. I've pored over the forensic reports, the witness statements, the air samples, and it's not just evidence. It's a nightmare you can smell. George Anthony got to it first, mid-July, after Cindy's 911 calls lit a fire under the cops. He'd smelled something weeks before, June 24th, when Caylee handed back his stolen gas cans from that trunk. He'd cracked it open, recoiled. A thick, sour wave hit him, like roadkill left in the sun. He knew it from his detective days. Human rot, unmistakable. A stench that sticks to your soul. He slammed the lid, didn't dig deeper. Fear? Denial? When he picked the car up from impound on July 15th, it was worse. Like a body had been in there, he told the jury later, voice tight. The tow yard manager, Simon Birch, backed him up, said it hit him 10 feet away, closed up, and choked him when he popped the trunk. I've smelled death before, he testified. That was it. The cops brought in a cadaver dog, a German shepherd named Bones. July 17th, it sniffed the Pontiac, pawed at the trunk, sat down hard. Its signal for death. Inside, a trash bag with pizza scraps, flies buzzing, but no body. Just that smell, clinging to the carpet, the spare tire well, the air itself. The FBI took over, sent samples to the body farm in Tennessee. Experts who live with decay. Arpad Voss, a forensic anthropologist, tested the air. 5 key chemicals of human decomposition, plus chloroform, spiking high. Only a body could do that, he said on the stand, eyes steady. A hair, fine and light brown, pulled from the trunk liner, matched Caylee's brush, banded with a dark ring, a mark of rot seen only in corpses. No nuclear DNA, just mitochondrial, linking it to Caylee's maternal line. Caylee? Caylee? Cindy? No one could say for sure. I've imagined that trunk 100 times. Dark, cramped, the heat baking it into a stew of death. The prosecution said Caylee killed her there. Chloroform-soaked rag over Caylee's face, duct tape to seal her screams, body curled up till she could ditch it. June 16th, maybe. Last day Caylee was seen. Caylee driving off, windows down, hiding the truth in plain sight. By June 30th, the car's dumped, smell too strong to mask. Flies circled, but no blood, no flesh, just echoes of something gone. The defense laughed it off. Pizza, they said, or garbage. But pizza doesn't make a dog sit, doesn't choke a man like George. I see Caylee behind the wheel, that blank stare, music thumping while the trunk hums with decay. Did she feel it? Smell it? Or was she numb, locked in some cold place where mothers don't mourn. The chloroform's the kicker. Vass found levels too high for trash, too strange for chance. Did she mix it, dose Caylee to sleep, then finish it with tape? The car says yes, whispers it in every creak of metal, every whiff of rot. But no body, no stains, just a hair and a ghost. Maybe it was there days, maybe hours, before she tossed it in those woods, half a mile from home, where bugs and roots took over. That Pontiac's my anchor, pulling me into the dark. It's not just a car. It's a witness, mute but screaming. Caylee was in there, alive or dead, and Casey drove it like nothing happened. I hear the engine purr, smell that stench, and I know. Whatever happened, it started here. Murder or mistake, the truth's locked in that trunk, and it's still waiting to be let out. May 23rd, 2011, Orlando Courthouse. The air buzzed with tension, cameras flashing, a sequestered jury staring at Caylee Anthony in the dock. 25 years old now, hair pulled back, face pale but calm, too calm, like she'd rehearsed it. I wasn't in that room, didn't hear the gavel drop, but I've lived it through the transcripts, the footage, the endless replay of a trial that promised answers and delivered none. Casey was the star, the enigma, killer or scapegoat. And every word she didn't say cut deeper than the ones she did. The prosecution went first, voice sharp, painting her black. Caylee Anthony murdered her daughter, they said, to free herself from a burden. Caylee, they argued, cramped her style. Clubs, boyfriends, a life of shots and selfies. June 16, 2008. Last sighting, Casey driving off with her. Then chloroform, tape, a body in the trunk, dumped in the woods to rot. Evidence stacked up. The car's stench, the hair, the duct tape on Caylee's skull, rare, matching a roll George once used on gas cans. Cindy's 911 call, Casey's lies, her partying. They called it a pattern, a mother who didn't care. She wanted Caylee gone, they hammered, and she made it happen. I see their point. Those 31 days of silence, the Bella Vita tattoo she got while Caylee moldered. Beautiful life indeed. Then the defense took the stage. Jose Baez's voice low, steady. Caylee drowned, he said. An accident in the family pool. June 16th, he claimed. Casey found her floating. George there too, barking orders to hide it. Panic set in. Casey's lies, her detachment, all scars from a childhood of abuse. George molested her, Baez alleged, taught her to bury pain, to fake normal. No murder, no chloroform, just a tragic cover-up spiraling out of control. George took the stand, face hard, denying it all. Never touched her, he swore. Never saw Caylee drown. His eyes said rage, but his voice cracked. Grief or guilt, I can't tell. Casey didn't testify, just sat there. A cipher. Witnesses rolled in. Friends who saw her party said she never mourned, but admitted she loved Caylee when she was around. Cindy, weeping, recounting Casey's nanny tales, her desperate calls. Experts clashed. Voss with his decay gases. Spitz saying the tape came post-mortem, not murder. No blood, no DNA tied Casey to the kill. Just that car, that smell, that hair. The jury got 10 hours, July 5th, 2011. Not guilty on murder, child abuse. Guilty on 4 counts of lying. 4 years, time served, $4,000 fine. She walked. I see her in that courtroom, unflinching, a mask I can't crack. Is she the monster they painted? Cold, calculating, dosing her baby to death? The car says yes, the tape too, but no proof seals it. Or is she Baez's broken girl, shattered by George, stumbling through a lie she couldn't escape? George haunts me too. His gas cans, his suicide note later. No mention of drowning. Did he know? Did he help? Casey's the spotlight, but the shadows shift around her. Mother, victim, both. I hear her laugh from those club nights, see her stare in the dock, and I don't know. She's a mirror reflecting nothing, a puzzle with no edge. The trial's over, but it's not done. Casey's free, hated, hiding, America's pariah. Caylee's bones got justice in name only, her story half told. I'm left with her mother's silence, a spotlight that blinds but doesn't reveal. Was it hate, fear, or something darker, festering in that family long before the pool or the trunk? Casey knows, and she's not telling. July 5th, 2011, Orlando. The verdict hit like a shockwave. Caylee Anthony, not guilty of murder, not guilty of child abuse. 10 hours of deliberation, and the jury handed her 4 years for lying, already served, a $4,000 fine slapped on top. She'd walk out in days, July 13th, a free woman at 25 while the world howled. I wasn't in that crowd outside the courthouse, didn't hear the gasps or curses, but I've felt the fallout in every line of these files. Justice slipped away that day, and what's left is a void, a hole where Caylee's truth should be. The streets erupted, protesters screaming "baby killer" at a woman they'd never met, signs demanding blood. Casey became America's most hated, a face on TV screens, a name spat in disgust. August 12th, the DCF report landed. Casey was responsible for Caylee's death, not murder, but negligence. 31 days of silence that buried any chance of answers. No charges followed, just words on paper, a slap after the acquittal. September 24th, she got hit with a bill, $217,449, $23 for investigation costs, her lies inflating the tab. She's still out there, jobless, dodging a defamation suit from a real Zenaida Gonzalez, pleading the fifth. The spotlight's dimmed, but the hate hasn't. I stand in that void now, imagining those woods off Suburban Drive, half a mile from the Anthony house, where Caylee's bones lay for 6 months. December 11th, 2008. Roy Kronk, meter reader, finds her in a trash bag, duct tape stretched across her jaw, roots curling through her hair. No flesh, no blood, just a skeleton whispering murder or mistake. The trial gave no cause. Chloroform and tape, the state said. Drowning and panic, the defense countered. No proof stuck, no hand tied to the kill. I see that skull, tape glinting in the sun, and I hear nothing. Caylee's voice is gone, drowned in the noise of Casey's lies. Casey's the ghost here, drifting free while the world judges. Was she the killer? Picture it. June 16, 2008. Caylee fussing, Casey snapping. Chloroform from a rag, tape from the shed, a limp body curled in the trunk. She drives, dumps, parties, free at last. The car screams it, the smell proves it, but the jury didn't bite. No smoking gun, just shadows. Or was she the victim? George looming, abusive, barking orders as Caylee floats dead in the pool. Casey freezes, lies, breaks, a puppet of trauma. George's denials ring hollow. His suicide attempt in '09 a crack in the armor, but no confession. Which Casey's real? The cold one grinning over a corpse? The scared one crushed by a father's hand? I don't know. The void swallows it all. Evidence, theories, rage. No DNA, no witnesses, just a hair, a smell, a tattoo mocking us. Bella Vita. Caylee's gone. Justice too. And Casey's a wraith in the aftermath. Hated, hunted, silent. I smell that trunk still. Hear the flies in those woods. Feel the weight of a question no court could answer. Murderer or mourner, she's the key, and she's locked it away. The ghost isn't just in the car. It's in her. In us. In a story that ends with a shrug and a scream into nothing. The air presses down tonight, thick with the sticky heat of a Florida summer that never ends. I'm standing in a deserted lot, the asphalt cracked and weed-choked, staring at a ghost. A white Pontiac Sunfire, towed here in July 2008. Its paint peeling, its windows black as dead eyes. Caylee Anthony's car. They say it stank of death when they found it. A smell so vile it clawed into the throats of everyone who dared get close. Rotting flesh, sweet and rancid. A scent that lingers like a curse. I wasn't there then. Didn't breathe that air. But I've smelled it in my nightmares ever since I opened these files. Caylee Anthony, 2 years old, lost to the world, and this rusting husk might have cradled her last moments. So why can't I walk away? I'm no cop from Orange County. No rookie who trudged those woods in 2008. I'm just a man with no badge, no title, just an itch that won't quit. Digging through trial transcripts and yellowed reports like they're the bones of some long-dead beast. It started July 15th, 2008. Cindy Anthony's voice on a 911 call, brittle and breaking, saying her granddaughter was gone, her daughter a liar. December 11th, 2008. A meter reader trips over a garbage bag in the swampy woods near their house. Tiny bones, a skull with duct tape stretched across where a mouth should be. Caylee. Orlando held its breath that year. The nation too, waiting for justice to pin Caylee Anthony to a murder she swore she didn't commit. July 5th, 2011. She walked free, acquitted of killing her own child, leaving a wound in the story that festers still. How did Caylee die? Who hid her body? And why does that car feel like it's watching me? It was summer in Orlando, the kind that soaks your shirt and buzzes with mosquitoes. The sun a merciless glare on a city that didn't care. Caylee was 22, young, pretty, a mother who didn't wear the title right. For 31 days after Caylee vanished, she wove a web of lies. Told her parents the girl was with a nanny named Zanny. Told friends she was safe. Partied at clubs while the truth rotted somewhere unseen. Then the car surfaced, abandoned in a parking lot, towed to impound. Its trunk a locked vault. George Anthony, her father, drove it home and nearly retched. A smell he knew from his days as a detective. The heavy, unmistakable reek of a decomposing body. Tow yard workers gagged on it. Cops scribbled it in reports. A cadaver dog pawed at the trunk and whined. Air samples pulled from that metal tomb whispered chloroform, decay gases. A single hair, fine and brown like Caylee's, lay inside, banded with the mark of rot. They called it a coffin on wheels. Caylee? She just shrugged, spun more stories, danced in the neon glow.